How's it going, everybody? For today's beer review, we're going to be taking a look at Avery Brewing Company's The Demons of Ale series, Mephistopheles Stout. So we've got something incredibly special and notoriously wicked for today's beer review that I'm super excited about. This is Mephistopheles Stout, which is Avery Brewing Company's Demons of Ale series, one of their parts of that. The Demons of Ale series have got ridiculous alcohol by volume percentages. This one fares no differently. Now, with the Demons of Ale series, I've kind of had 50-50 luck on them. Sometimes they're like just over the top amazing. Sometimes they're just over the top. And I can't drink them, usually because they're too sweet. So I'm thinking that may not be the case in this one. To give you the information on this here, the original gravity is 31.25 degrees plateau. It is an annual release in November. This is the November 2014 release, batch number 10. The ABV on this stout is just like ridiculous. Probably one of the highest beers I've ever drank in my life, actually. 17.1% alcohol by volume. That is stronger than most wines. That is getting up to like really heavy port territory. And that is almost half of what something like whiskey or vodka would be. So that is insane. The commercial description on this says, brewed and bottled by Avery Brewing Company in Boulder, Colorado, Mephistopheles is the crafty shapeshifter, the second fallen angel, he who does not love light. Herein he patiently lies, waiting and willing to do your bidding, but for a price. Enter into his darkness, a tangled and intricate labyrinth of bittersweet rapture. Brewed with Rocky Mountain water, malted barley, turbinado sugar, hops, and a hellion of a Belgian yeast strain. Interesting. I'm going to be drinking this naturally out of my Duvel snifter glass. So let's get the cap off of here and see what this is like. This is an intimidating beer. I can smell it from here. Straight out, the color pours. Pitch black like burnt motor oil. I'm going to pour this super aggressively because, yeah, it's just like, it's so viscous. Well, actually, with an almost vertical pour, it does have a pretty good head potential on it, but you are going to have to pour it very heavy-handed, as you saw. Pretty much pouring it vertically gave me about 2.5, maybe about 2 fingers of extremely dark brown colored head. Our dark tan colored head getting to that light brown. It's not quite like the burnt caramel stage yet, but it is one of the darker heads I've seen on a stout. There's no need to hold this one in the light because it is 100% pitch black. You cannot see anything through that stout. As far as the smell goes, it reminds me a lot of Oscar Blues 1050 as far as the smell goes. Now, this does have a bit of a chill on it. It's probably just a little bit colder than where it needs to be for the style, and I imagine it may open up some more, and so depending on how it tastes, I may let it warm and come back to it to get it even warmer than it is. But as far as smells go now, I'm getting a lot of cream, medium sweet chocolate, little touches of really roasted coffee. It also kind of has that distinctive kind of medicinal, herbal, kind of licorice thing going on, which is usually characterized by Russian Imperial stouts. Medicinal herbal licorice, I know, does not sound like a very tasty thing for most people, but it's just a very light touch of that, and it really is a very complimentary smell and taste for this style of beer, because it's usually just a little bit. Well, it's actually quite herbal. Definitely a good smell. I would definitely have thought that this was a Russian Imperial Stout if I didn't know any better, because that medicinal, not really medicinal, but really herbal kind of smell is just very present for me. Surprisingly, at least in the smell, I'm not getting a whole lot of alcohol, but I have a feeling it's going to be kind of hard to mask 17.1% alcohol, but we won't know until we give it a taste, so let's go ahead and give it one. Really good. Pleasantly surprised. I was really like, oh man, I hope this isn't going to be just too terribly over-the-top sweet, because usually with the beers getting up that high, it's just so sweet. It's like sugar syrup, but this is not so. As far as the taste goes, at least now, there's a ton of medium sweet chocolate. Ends on a quite bitter note. It's definitely still on the very sweet side of things. This is definitely a big sipping beer, and it's definitely something I would probably split with somebody. It could go really either way right now. I'm enjoying the taste I'm getting, but I'm also getting a lot of sweetness. So what we're going to do is I'm going to let this warm up for a little bit, see how it develops, and I'll come back and give you my final verdict. Okay, we are back. I've had this warming up for just a little bit now, and it's closer to what you'd want to drink it at, kind of that 50 to 55 range. Pleasantly enough, I'm getting a lot more chocolate now. It's definitely a chocolate-heavy stout. I wouldn't call this like a sweet or a milk stout, but in the aroma, it smells like it would be one. Just lots of malt, medium sweet chocolate, and a little bit of coffee. The coffee's not super heavy in it, and it still definitely does have that kind of like herbal, medicinal, licorice thing going on, but it's not nearly as strong in the smell now. The chocolate is what's really come forward. As far as taste goes now, it's good. It's strong though. It's definitely a potent beer. You knew that from the ABV. Just a ton of very sweet malt, medium bittersweet chocolate, and a very roasted, bitter kind of coffee ending on this beer. I can't stress enough when I say that this is a wintertime warm you up beer, and I mean like out in the snow. Having this on a warm summer day sounds terrible. Thankfully, it's not too terribly hot right now, at least indoors here, but I can't imagine drinking this in anything other than decently cool weather. If you were out in the cold, like if you were hiking or something and you had this hiking in the snow, it would be awesome. That being said, as far as my score goes, they're going to differentiate a little bit from one another. In a representation, it's definitely not the best representation of a stout that I've had because it's so over the top. I would give it probably about an 86 to an 87 out of 100 in the style or the representation of the Imperial Stout style. As far as my own personal score goes, I give it about an 89 out of 100. Why not an A? It's just a bit too sweet still. It's been the kind of same thing with all of their Demons of Ale series. They are just very, very sweet beers. Almost cloyingly sweet. This one's not quite to that cloying level, but some of them definitely are, like the Samael and the Beast. Those two were so cloyingly sweet that I could not finish them. This one is okay. As long as I sip on this slow. I'm probably going to be sipping on this for an hour or two, to be honest with you. That's how much I have to stress sipping this beer. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, you need to age them, because that'll age out a lot of the sweetness. I've heard some people say they've had these things sitting for 2 or 3 years, and that it didn't do any good. Me personally, my whole thought on that is, it's supposed to be that you get a beer that's good and you age it so it gets better. It's not supposed to be you get a beer that you have to age so it's good. That being said, that's why I'm not going to bump this up to an A-. It's going to be a very, very high B+. Because of that, it needs to back off on the sweetness just a little bit. I know when you have alcohol that high, things do tend to get very sweet. I have had beers at this strength or higher that were not nearly as sweet in very similar styles. So it can be done, and I think that the Demons of Ale series would benefit a lot from them just backing off a bit on whatever it is they're doing to have this so sweet. Probably the use of that turbinado sugar. I don't think they need that really, at least not as much as they're using. So, just my opinion though. Anyway, that has been my review of Avery Brewing Company's Mephistopheles Stout. Hope you guys enjoyed the beer review as always, and stay tuned for the next one.